Good day, dear friends. It's the 30th of December, 2023, and I wish you all a happy New Year's. Those that celebrated Christmas, Catholic Christmas, well, Merry belated Christmas. Those who celebrate the proper Christmas day, which falls on the 7th of January, but is the 25th of December on the Julian calendar, I wish you all a upcoming Merry Christmas. I may put out a message before that. A little bit of the year in review. I know that the enemies of Russia, many of whom are looking at a piece of rope and a crossbar somewhere on their ceiling, ready to hang themselves because all their plans of mice and men went to shite. And we're happy to say that, because when God is on your side, who can stand against you? When God is with you, who can stand against you? Romans. And the vile Satanists of the West sure as hell can't. And they've proven that. And they've proven that over and over again. For all the best efforts of 50 NATO nations, the superhumanity, the super race of all, that to show everyone how they must live, they've all failed. In 2024, I'll probably bring the big world war. The question is which European nations will go on their suicide death ride against us. Hungary and Slovakia looks like they've decided they want to live. Croatia, too, is more likely not going to go along with this. But the Germans and the others, I think, are going to go into their extinction mode a lot faster than demographically they're going anyways. Just to understand, as far as Germany goes, our embassy at the beginning of this year reported, our embassy in Germany, at the beginning of this year reported that 200,000 petitions were given to restore Russian citizenship. These are Russian Germans, a lot of them that moved in the 90s, are now flooding back. Not just running away because they got treated only as Russians in Germany, never as Germans. Even though a lot of these guys have been 4th, 5th generation, 6th generation in Russia. But anyways, they were never exactly accepted back by the Germans as Germans. But with having your kids sexually indoctrinated at kindergarten or first grade, absolute irrelevance of your religious faith, unless you're Muslim, of course, then the German government still has some hesitation. Against Christians, it's a full on atheist jihad. The Muslims will get theirs too after the Christians are have been gotten rid of one way or the other. So don't worry about that. You're not going to be immune, not from Big Brother. So that's how that's running in Germany. Well, behind them are a hell of a lot of ethnic Germans that have no roots in Russia. By the way, Van der Leyen, for those of you that don't know her roots. As she said, I feel so at home in America. That's because half of her family immigrated to the U.S. 100 years ago, more than that. And part of that family immigrated back to Germany, which is, I think, that's her mother's line. But very few of you know that her father's line and her nobility, rank of nobility in her family, was given to her by her family by Alexander II. That's right. She's got Russian roots because they were part of the Russian Germans that moved to Russia and established themselves and were able to progress into the nobility. And, of course, ran away in 1917 rather than defend the government that gave them everything they had. So if any of you are still wondering what the hell of an animal you have running your lives that's lording over you, that's the animal that's lording over you. Her very roots, her very genetics is traitorous. So there you go. And as she said, she feels quite at home in America, where she will be after she ruins all of you and puts you on in your deathbed. Well, actually, you're already in your deathbed after she puts you in your burial hole. And it's not going to be individual graves either. So that's for that. Good news, well, for some. Just to show you how sanctions have destroyed Russia, our economic growth this month alone was 4.4%. Previous month was 3.32. So for the year, it's going to be over 3%. That's right. Give us more sanctions. We'll put your packet of sanctions in our packet of packets. And frankly, just don't give a damn. Sanctions have been the best thing. Russia is leading in industrial economic growth as far as industry. We were a pretty big industrial base to begin with. Not that the Western media would ever tell you. But as far as year-on-year growth, Russia is the leading country in the world right now. So thank you very much. Next year, the forecast next year for Russian-built short and medium-range passenger aircraft is 500 plus. So within 2 years, Russia will basically be able to replace all non-Russian passenger planes. 2 years, 2.5 years. And considering these planes have 20 to 30-year lifespans, yeah, that means Europe and the U.S. are going to be gone from that intermediate range market. And the intermediate range market is 6,000 kilometers. So 3,600, 3,800 miles. So you got internal commuter planes, basically. So it's basically between 3 to 8 row planes, depending on the size. And we're starting to work. The Superjets is an example. Fully integrated, fully manufactured in Russia, from zero to finished product. The engines have been developed in Russia, have now gotten certified. About 6 years ago, the U.S., in its total belief of free markets, and I do say that with sarcasm, massive sarcasm, the U.S. Banned the export of the fiber materials used to make modern airplane wings. And that was the goal of that was, of course, to put a big break on Russian airplane construction. There's a guy parking beside me. It's getting really, really close. Yeah, getting out, it's going to be fun. So that did stop Russian airplane manufacture for about 3 years, because during those 3 years, Russia put a plant together to manufacture the fibers, and then Russia came out on the world market as a competitor to the U.S. because we could do it cheaper. Our materials were cheaper, our labor is cheaper, our taxes are much, 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 much lower. So the U.S. just created, out of whole cloth, created a competitor for itself. Congratulations. That's how it usually works when you try to sanction a country like Russia. Fifth largest economy in the world by neutral dollars. By neutral dollars, by the way, China is about 20% ahead of the U.S. By neutral dollars, Russia is the fifth largest economy in the world, first economy of Europe. That's right, Germans, you've sunk. You were ahead of us, now you're quite well behind us, and sinking further. Hell, the British are probably going to surpass the Germans this year. In 2024, let that sink in. And England isn't doing too well. It's just Germany is in the absolute free fall. Amazingly, how the Germans are still passively sitting by and watching their children's future being destroyed. Well, those few Germans that have children are watching their future being destroyed. And those that don't have children, wake the hell up, because you're might as well commit suicide when you get to pension age. There ain't no money for your pensions. Not in a corrupt, collapsed, pseudo-vassal state of the German Republic. So yeah, so everything's going gangbusters. We have an overheated economy because full employment, and the economy's growing. We do need labor. We don't need uneducated labor. We've got enough of that of our own. Plus, Central Asia is coming in, and most people don't want them coming in anymore. Too many have come in too quickly. So there's a lot of push out and expulsions going on, because there's quite a few illegals, or any criminal activity is automatic banishment out of Russia for either for 5 years to life. But what we need is. We need Europeans, we need more engineers, we need more welders, we need more technical people, we need those kinds of people. So for all you Europeans, you can either sit in your collapsed economies and wait till World War III kicks off and you get to go die. So I guess that ends your misery. I mean, in Canada, it'll help you commit suicide to end your poverty and economic misery. But in Europe, you're too valuable as meat. So they'll let you end your life fighting for America against Russia, as the French, Germans, and Belgians and everyone else. Or you could immigrate to Russia, and your children could have a future in a conservative Christian country. As an example of how conservative and Christian Russia has gotten, especially over the last 2 years, massive shift to the right. Our celebrities, those that didn't quite scream, we hate Russia and run away and then go bankrupt because nobody needs them outside of Russia. Quite a few of those. Quite a few of them went to Israel and all of a sudden decided Israel isn't their motherland now that there's a shooting war in Israel, and they started trying to run back to Russia. Well, we don't want you back either. Quite a few of the stars that were left, they had a party in a very elite club. Entrance tickets were 1 million rubles, so about $12,000 a ticket. And it was the Near Naked Club party. So basically they were in lingerie, see-through, everything, and so on. One guy came with a sock on, and it wasn't on his feet. And, of course, they taped it, and they put it out on their Telegram channels and all that. The club's been shut down for at least a month. A lot of these guys are making apologies or half-assed apologies because a lot of them are on either on government or partially government-sponsored projects, films, on some government channels. So they're all been fired. I mean, this is massive outrage. Massive outrage. You know, and the stupidity is, first of all, these people, for 20, 30 years, they've been doing whatever the hell they want, and society at first society celebrated it back in the 90s, then it started just tolerating it. But they're so tone deaf, they still don't realize how much society's changed. And their quirks and eccentricities nobody wants to tolerate anymore. Society's gotten very conservative, and it's going to continue getting more conservative. We are the antithesis of the West. Thank God. Everything the West despises and hates, that is a Christian conservative country, we are it. So if you don't like what the West is, you should start looking at how to move to Russia. You could move to China. It's pretty conservative too, but, it's still a different country. We are a Christian country. You could start thinking that. I'm thinking most Westerners, of course, they'll take a ride to the front and die there. They'll die in some concentration camp or re-education camp rather than move because, that would entail taking a risk of, and having a possibility of surviving. And most Westerners are too dumbed down these days to actually do that, from my personal experience. Too cowardly, too dumbed down, or just refuse to believe it could get worse. A lot of people that went to the concentration camps believed it can't get worse. Right up to the gas chamber, they were in denial. Still got them dead. So, been saying that for a while. But at least the more active. The good thing is at least the people that move to Russia are the active people. The proactive people. So not the dead weight, which is good. So, anyways, again, celebrating New Year's tomorrow evening. It's a huge holiday in Russia. And then Christmas 7 days later. So, hope everybody enjoys New Year's. I know in America and places, France was a pretty good New Year's back when I celebrated in Paris. Of course, that was 1997, 98. Was it 97, 98? No, yeah, that was 97, 98. That was pretty cool. Of course, you didn't have all the immigrants living or illegal immigrants and such living right in the middle of center of Paris on the streets. So you had a pretty big party. We went over there. I was in a U.S. military base, and we took me and a buddy of mine bought tickets and with a group tour. Then the reason we took tickets to group tours because they had a bus taking us there, and they had hotels already booked. Then we didn't stick around with a group tour. We went on our own. We got pissed in the middle of Paris. We met up a bunch of other officers, that a couple of whom I knew. We got pissed badly together. Started looking for an Irish club. Nobody spoke French. English, German, Spanish, and luckily for all of us, Russian, because it turned out that Irish club was in the middle of a Russian neighborhood. Because we got lost massively. We were looking around, couldn't find it, and we're all totally pissed. And then I heard Russian speech, so I started asking the people, like, the club's right down the street, you just missed it. Like, cool. Right in the middle. Irish club right in the middle of a Russian neighborhood in the middle of Paris. So we got snookered the rest of the way. But that was a good time. Of course, again, Paris was a very, well, at least the center of Paris, the good portions were very different. There weren't mass car burnings back in 1997, 98, unlike today. Unlike the ghetto that is all of Paris these days. So that was good. In the U.S., people get shite-faced in groups here and there. There's no big. I mean, they lower the Apple in New York, and that's it, pretty much. And party's over. Everybody sticks around for a little longer and then goes home. So Americans just really don't know how to celebrate. As much as they think they do, they don't. So in Russia, it's huge. Fireworks. So people will be shooting off fireworks till about 6 or 7 in the morning. And be screaming and partying till about 6 or 7 in the morning. Until they just pass out. Sun comes up. The sun's going to come up about 8:30. It's winter, after all. So anyways, I digress. So again, Happy New Year's. Hope everybody's having a good time. Who can afford to still have a good time? Ukrainians aren't having a good time, and they're not going to have a good time. The only way they're going to have a good time is to join Russia. By the way, that's another topic. And I'm going to, shortly, so I'm going to make this video a little longer. Me and a friend of mine were wondering, and I voiced this on various Russian television shows, what does victory look like for Ukrainian? There's not going to be a victory, but what if? I mean, what are they fighting for, right? I'm talking about the average statistical Ukrainian that's out there fighting. What are they fighting for? The elites, it's easy to understand. Everybody who's in America's pocket, it's easy to understand what the hell they're fighting for. They're fighting for to get richer, screwing everybody. Of course, they're not fighting. And the senior officers are running scams, and they're getting rich off this. I'm talking about lieutenant colonel and up in Ukraine. Those guys don't go to the front. The ones that went to the front have all been mostly killed. The ones that don't go to the front, they make money. This is one of the reasons they refuse to admit their losses. As long as they don't admit their losses, the people have been killed, salaries are issued, even though they're tiny salaries, but the senior officers pocket all that. So they continue to pocket, and the more guys they get killed, the more salaries the senior officers can pocket. Great, isn't it? Great scam. So what's the average statistical Ukrainian fighting for? And honestly, what would victory look like for Ukrainians? Roll back the borders to 1991? Okay, what does that get the average Ukrainian? In any situation, that gives them nothing. The land is no longer theirs. It's Monsanto, it's BlackRock, it's all these organizations that even the agricultural land has now been massively sold off. Because Zelensky, as a good puppet, he got the laws changed. His party, which is the majority party now, got the laws changed, and the agricultural land just was directly sold off to all foreigners. Factories aren't theirs, and most of those factories will never reopen. Ukraine was already devolving into just an agricultural society. Extraction and agriculture, that's all it has. And you don't really need a lot of people for that. Medicine is all paid for, and no longer any free medicine for anybody, and it's extremely expensive, so most people are screwed. Pensions aren't going to get us paid. That's one of the reasons they're shoving everybody to the front up to 70 years old, so they'll all die off. You don't have to pay pensions then. Isn't that a great scam? They died for the country, so fuck off. and your wives, too, if they're still alive. You kill off all your old people, you don't have to pay pensions. Great scam. What else are they fighting for? The debts aren't going to go away. Nothing is going to change that's for the positive for any statistically average Ukrainian. Only worse. Taxes will go up. They'll have to repay the debt one way or the other. Everything just gets worse and worse. Whether they win, and if they won, if Russia was to collapse tomorrow, nobody would need Ukraine the next day. It's an extraction colony, nothing more. There's nothing else that it's needed for. So what happens if Ukraine loses? Well, those territories that have joined Russia, let's see, all debts to Ukrainian and Western banks are gone. All the Western-owned property, factories, resource areas, agricultural land is no longer owned by Western companies or Western governments. It's now being sold off to Russian corporations and Russian owners. And once those people are Russians, they get to be able to buy up the land and get a certain amount of land off them they get a certain amount of land from the government. They get certain. Sorry, some guy was poking in my car. Thinking it's his car or something. He's trying to get in. Old guy. Automatically is the word I was wanting to say. Lots of new factories opening up all over those 4 new provinces. Massive investments in infrastructure, roads, electric nets. Yeah, sure, some of it's still being destroyed by Ukrainian artillery and drone strikes, but it's being repaired, and it's all going to go right back up. Mariupol is just metamorphosing. It's a phoenix. Whole new cities growing up. So that, jobs, medical care, new schools, all the debts that they own to the Ukrainian government and banks are annulled. That's what's looking at them if Russia wins and they become part of Russia. All plus sides. If they win, it's all minus. There's no their victory is slavery. That's the thanks that they're going to get is economic slavery. At best, they'll be able to maybe migrate somewhere far away and wash toilets or prostitute themselves out to Europeans. That's best case scenario. So again, what's the average Ukrainian got to look forward to if they win? If they're invalids or they've suffered, they're not going to get anything from the government. Nobody needs them anymore. They're used up meat. Invalids, Russian invalids, they're getting prosthetics, they're getting treatments, therapies, etc. They're getting tax-free status, they're getting land, apartments for service, and so on. Yeah, America doesn't give that. As an American veteran, I get VA, which is a meat locker. Get the worst doctors in America working for the U.S. government because they don't have to get state exams, but they're paid shit. So you get guys that can't pass state exams to be able to practice medicine. They go work for the U.S. government. VA, except for a few universities, VA centers that are tied to universities like Duke University and Chapel Hill Medical, America's VA system is a butcher house of inept, half-assed doctors. You can't sue them. So, you go see the doctor at the risk of your own life. That's it. If you've served 20 years, you do get a pension. Most of your injuries, the U.S. government's not going to recognize. They're going to do whatever it can not to recognize and not to pay. I have a friend who had neurodegeneration from the chemicals he worked with in the U.S. Air Force. The guy is in his early 40s, mid-40s. He's been chair-bound, basically recliner. That's where he sits most of the day. Can't do jack. He can barely get around. He and his wife were fighting for 6 years for the U.S. government to recognize his status and pay out. So, that's what people are looking at in the U.S. the richest country in the world, or so they say. Here, it's much better, especially now. Now it's really much better. So the government understands, like as Napoleon used to say, if you don't feed your army, a nation that doesn't feed its own army will soon be feeding a foreign army. So, words to live by. All right. Enough clogging everybody's mind up with my banter. Hope everybody has a very, very good New Year's holiday, and you have a very good next New Year. That is, you welcome Russia's victory and you join us. That's a good New Year. Peace out.